deserve to have the best physical, mental, spiritual. Zealous Wellness with Mike Hollis.
Hey there, and welcome to another episode of Zealous Wellness with Mike Hollis. I'm your host. How about March Madness? How about that UConn Duke game last night? Holy moly, that was an incredible game. I was shocked. I thought for sure Duke was going to hold on to that game, and that last shot was just an incredible shot. Like, it was just one of those things that kid always dreams of. It's like, you know, with me and kicking, you always kind of dream of having that game-winning kick and you know, having your team pick you up on their shoulders and lift you off the field, which never happened to me. I really didn't care. I'd be like, put me down. I don't want to be the center of attention. So I'm already the center of attention. I don't need to be, you know, held above by shoulders. But a lot of cool stuff. You know, sports makes us who we are. It really is it's such a developmental type of thing. It teaches us discipline, accountability, teamwork, responsibility, dedication, commitment, all of the above. It teaches us that, and I really. I feel, you know, I don't feel bad for people that don't play sports. I just think that they've missed out on part of an opportunity of growing up and learning and becoming, you know, a team player. Because a lot of people, you know, when they get, you know, older and get into their careers, they're going to be involved in some team working at some point. And so I think, you know, sports kind of gives you that introduction to that kind of stuff. And really what got me into sports was just, you know, a lot of neighborhood friends were always out playing, and I really got involved in just having fun. Of course, I was a little boy and just running around the neighborhood and just, you know, causing all kinds of problems with the neighborhood. And, you know, I'm kidding. No, but we just played a lot of sports, and it was a lot of fun. And that evolved me into the person I am today because of that. And, you know, when I think about kicking, of course, it started from soccer, but today I'm going to talk a little bit about, you know, kicking and just kind of the, you know, my experiences, and we're going to show some videos of me in the NFL and some photos and stuff, and just kind of give you a little picture of my road and just kind of talk about the mechanics of kicking and how dedicated I was and really what made me as good as I was. And again, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. I'm just giving you honest, you know, truth and just facts that I lived through, you know, things that, I wasn't supposed to play in the NFL based on my size and lack of athletic ability and lack of strength and all that stuff. And so I overcame what a lot of people thought that I would never even come close to accomplishing. And you know, it's, you know, lit the fire in me when people will say, oh, you'll never do that. You know, there's no way you can do that. And I love proving people wrong, but it took a lot of you know, work and dedication and knowing the right process. That's what we're going to talk about a little bit tonight, about leveraging your body, leveraging what you can in any sort of motion or skill. You have there's always the best way of doing any sort of skill in life, and if you know the best way of doing it, it's probably going to be a little different than you think. There's a lot of people that try to muscle things, and, you know, kickers are trying to muscle the football, and I'm not one of those. I couldn't get away with muscling the ball and kick it as far as the other guys that were big, strong, and athletic and muscling the ball at the same time. And so I'll give you a little insight on where I kind of learned leverage. It was a very nice lesson learned from my stepfather in the garage back in the day when I was a kid working on a car. So, but we'll get into that in a bunch of photos and videos. I think you guys might be a little intrigued and kind of, you know, looking at these things from a guy that was just a little tiny guy. You'll see a couple pictures of me back in high school. I laugh every time I see one of those couple pictures I put in there. Quite funny, as far as just kind of my look and my, of course, I was back in the 80s, late 80s. So, the football equipment wasn't the greatest. I was wearing shoulder pads that were probably twice what I should have wear as far as the size and everything. So I looked like a little kid playing Pop Warner and way too oversized, you know, pads. That's what I looked like. But I always laugh about it. It's funny because, you know, I was able to play in the NFL even starting like that. And so we all have to start from somewhere. And and I'm okay embracing my childhood. So with that said, we'll pause for a second with a quick word from our sponsor, and when we come back, we'll get right into kicking, and more so later on after that, more so of me kicking in the NFL and some photos and some stories too. I love to share stories. So with that said, we'll be right back, and we'll get going.
It is possible. It's different this time. I'm showing up for myself because now I know that weight isn't about effort alone. It's not just calories in, calories out. For years, the world told us it was simple. Eat less, move more, try harder. But science has shown us it's more complex than that. It's a real metabolic condition. That's where GLP-3 comes in. Powered by MBC 267, a naturally derived peptide complex discovered in salmon from the Norwegian Sea and select mushrooms. GLP-3 works with the body's own system to help manage appetite and support metabolic balance. No fighting your body, no forced outcomes, just support where it actually matters. Because when you address the real factors at play, progress feels possible. I'm becoming the best version of myself. This is me and GLP-3.
Welcome back. So before we get into the photos and the videos, I'll talk a little bit about like mechanics and what really is applied. And it's maybe a little bit boring for you, but just understand that the way and the process and the things that I think about and ultimately what I was taught is about leveraging your body weight and things that typically people don't understand. And going back to my initial comment about learning about leverage, I was in the garage, and I have an old Camaro, which I still have to this day. It was my very first car. Mom and Dad bought it for me when I was 14 years old, and I still have it to this day. It's in my garage here at the house here in Florida. So that car I was working on, and I can't remember what bolt I was trying to get off. It was maybe on the differential on the rear end or something. And I was struggling, just really, really struggling. Of course, I'm a kid. I'm 14 years old or so. And my stepdad had come out after a while and was, just kind of watching me and see what I was doing. And I said, Dad, I can't get this bolt off. And I was using a ratchet that wasn't real long. And so what he did was he grabbed like a steel pipe, and he put the pipe over the ratchet itself to make the ratchet end longer with more leverage, right? And he just did it with one arm, no problem. I'm like, how did you do that? He said, and then he explained to me, this is this is about leverage. You gotta understand how things work and give yourself a little bit of leverage with that. With a longer bar, it's easier to pull it, and to loosen up that bolt. And so from that point on, I kind of learned a little bit about, how things can work and how to do things a little bit better and different than what I've always thought. And that's really where you can get a little stubborn and think, well, I know everything, I can do it my own way. And then you struggle the whole time. And then someone walks up and shows you, like my dad did, popping the bolt off, no problem. I'm like, wow, how'd you do that? And so it kind of humbles you a little bit, right? So you get involved in knowing and learning about those kind of things. And then fast forward into kicking. And I didn't really know at the time when I was kicking about leverage and how do I do that? Because again, I didn't know anything about kicking. I was just a, athletic soccer player that just, wanted to kick footballs for the high school team. And I was just happened to be the better guy of all the guys that were on the team. And I got the job. And I'd say I was not a great kicker. I was pretty good in high school. I had 2 50-yard field goals my senior year in high school. And so I was able to kick it kind of far, but at that point, I still didn't really understand about leverage, And so I knew as I got older and competition got more. And finally, when I started working with Jim Gaetano, I've mentioned him many times, he taught me really. And again, he didn't really tell me that, I'm going to teach you how to kick, the ball with your body. I'm going to teach you how to use leverage. He didn't say anything like that. He just was showing me the right ways of kicking. And after a while, after I kind of learned about this forward momentum and the body weight kicking the football, and the hardest thing about is, as far as a kicker is concerned, and also a coach myself nowadays, it's very difficult to get somebody to not swing hard at a ball, especially if you got them backed up a little bit, and they have to put something into it, kick it far. Well, it's almost like I'm telling guys to slow the leg down, because what you'll gain in the power that you're missing out on the leg swing, the power that you'll gain will come from your forward body weight the momentum that you carry with your body when you actually kick the football at the same time as you go through the football, instead of stopping and turning, which most kickers know what to do. That's all they know what to do. They kick it with their leg because they stop their forward momentum, because they have to turn, because they think they have to steer the ball left of them. If I'm a right-footed kicker, we all think, mentally, we just, the goalposts are over to my left. I'm standing left of the ball. So naturally, I feel like I got to do something left. And that's the way everybody thinks initially, unless they're told otherwise. And so I really am super happy that I was told a different way, because I could have never made it in the NFL doing it the way I thought, again, trying to get that bolt off that, that differential. I could have never gotten it off. And here comes Dad just popping it off, no problem, right? So now Jim's in my life, and Jim's teaching me the right way to do it, and kind of more or less in a roundabout way, teaching me about leverage and how to leverage my body into the kick. And so really what I'm referring to is having a small body stature and not the leg strength or the power or the athleticism as everybody else that I'm competing against. I needed an edge. I needed a niche that was going to, put me at least equal with those guys, or maybe even better. And then of course that's what I found. And so really what the nutshell is behind Proform kicking, I'll give away a couple secrets here. I've been doing this for, coaching for 19 years now, almost 20 years. And, I try to, so on social media, I try to post things that will get people to think, I'm not going to give away all my secrets, but I get people to think differently. Like, wow, how is he doing that? That's different. That's interesting. And matter of fact, I just had a kid come from London and spend 6 days with me, because he found me on social media and he thought that it was the style and the things that I put on my post and just kind of the messages that I was kind of more or less portraying on these videos and clips and things, that it got his mind turning. And he's very analytical, and he's like, man, I don't know it all. And that's when he came over the first day. He's like, I don't know it all, but I'm very interested in what you have to say, because it's different than everybody else out there. And now that I can see you, and he's referring to me as far as my size, I'm not a very big guy. So he's like, well, man, if you can do it, I know I can do it. So I'm like, exactly. Right. So that was the biggest thing for me, learning and understanding that if something like, somebody like me with the, somewhat limited abilities and size and strength, I was able to do things as good or better than guys that had twice my athletic ability and size and strength and all that jazz. So I learned that whole process. And really, if I give you kind of the nutshell, it's really what we do. And this Proform kicking is really the concept is we're actually making contact with forward momentum. Of course, you already kind of know that. So we're running forward not at the ball, because that's going to make us turn. So we're kind of running to where our plant foot's going to be. And when we make contact with the football, we're kicking a very large surface area of the football, a lot larger than everybody else in the kicking world, because they always like to think it's the sweet spot of the ball is way down the bottom third of the ball. And I'm saying no. And then I show them a picture of a chalk line on my football that I kicked years ago, and it's not anywhere near where they think the sweet spot should be. And I said, well, this is my sweet spot, as I show them that photo. And so it's a very large surface area of the football, which, by the way, has the most compression out of the football, right? If you kick the football on the bottom of the football, not a lot of bounce or give there, right? The ball's not going to bounce off your foot very well. You kick that football in the middle of the football, it's going to bounce off your foot pretty good. And so you hit a very large surface area of the football with a very large surface area of your leg. Now, I know I didn't say kicking foot. I said kicking leg, because part of my shin, believe it or not, makes contact with the football. And that blows people away too. Like, wait, I've never thought of that. Like, who would want to hit the part of their shin on the football? I mean, this guy right here, I would, because it works. Especially, of course, what I'm referring to and how I teach it. But those two things, so hitting a very large surface area of the football with a very large surface area of my kicking leg, both of those things on an upswing. And you'll see some photos when we get going here with the pictures and stuff, but you'll see, I know there's one in there that really shows the upswing. I refer to it as a javelin. My body's way back and my plant foot's way up. The football is out ahead of me, and I'm actually kicking the ball while my leg is going up. And so if I hit the middle of the ball on the upswing, I'm going to get some decent height. And so you'll see another video in there of I was playing against the Houston Oilers. Again, I'm dating myself as far as how old I am, but playing against the Houston Oilers, and I had an extra point that had pretty good height on it. So I'm like, I like this one. So you'll see the height that I get on it. But a lot of guys, even coaches in the NFL that were playing against me, like that week, I pregame, the coaches like to walk around and talk to you a little bit as you're kicking sometimes. And said, Hollis, we watch film on you, man. You get such great height, because you're small foot. And I looked down, I'm like, I do have a small foot. And I said, well, we're not going to block you we're not going to try to get you from the front or from the middle because you get so much height. We're going to come at you from the edges. I'm like, okay, that's just a little scare tactic. They're trying to get inside of my head, make me think that they're going to be rushing from the sides now instead of from the middle. So, but again, I just ignore that stuff. But I said something a second ago about, well, they think that I get great height because I have a small foot. And then if I did have a photo of the chalk line on the football I was just referring to a second ago, and if I had that photo and I showed that to them, they would, right then and there, they'd be thinking, wow, that doesn't look like a small foot hit that ball. And so it wasn't because I had a small foot, it's just because of the way I kicked. And so that's why I'm teaching this kind of stuff to the masses. As many people who want to learn this kind of way of kicking is what I'm very, very passionate about. I've been doing this, like I said, almost 20 years now. So let's roll into some photos, and I'm going to show you a little bit about me as a little guy. That was me back in high school. My first year, I wore number 31 as a sophomore, and then I had number 1 my junior and senior year of high school. But just look at those thigh pads. Are you kidding me? Those things are massive. Look at that helmet. I have that actual helmet in my house right here. I've got all my helmets pretty much from every team I played on, except for Wenatchee. Wenatchee was the junior college I went to, and I didn't get anything from them. I don't know why. I got a practice jersey, I think. But anyways, you can see, look how big my shoulder pads are. Look how big that jersey is. It's like a dress on me. So again, I'm wearing my Diodoras for any soccer guys out there that understand Diodoras and remember how cool they were back in the day. So I had my Diodoras on. I had a little soccer-style kickoff tee there. But going into some other photos, we'll see different aspects. And that's me, again, in high school wearing number 1. And a friend of mine actually is the guy in red coming at me. His name was Charles Williams. I say was because he actually passed away. He had diabetes and had lost part of his leg at one point, and then eventually he was on dialysis for many, many years, and it just got him. But we played against different high school, we went to different high schools, but then we also played together at Wenatchee. He was a teammate of mine in Wenatchee after high school here. So on to the next photo. That's just me kicking. That's actually the picture behind me here, right there, that one. That's me kicking in a game. And I use that as my logo. My Proform kicking logo is actually that kick there. Hopefully it's okay because I kind of stole it a little bit, but that was one of the best pictures I think I've seen of myself kicking. It's probably at the peak of my follow through. But there's a video, hopefully got it on there tonight that shows me kicking on the sideline against the Steelers, a potential game winning kick. That the cameras were on me, and I'll give you a little secret. I knew the camera was on me, and I knew they were filming me. So I'm like, I'm gonna show some good form here, and I followed through pretty good on that one, and you'll see it in a minute. But other, just different things. Other photos, again, played for the Bills for a little while. That's me. Now, again, this is what I want to show you guys about the difference in the size. That's Dave Wydell. That was my center, and he's 6'7". And by the way, look at his hand. Look at his paw on my helmet. Are you kidding me? He's got massive hands. Of course, I don't have a really big head or body or anything like that, but I was doing the little money sign because a couple of my teammates, Mark Brunell being one of them, and Aaron Beasley, another guy, would always call me Money Mike. I make a kick and it was Money Mike, and that was the thing. I would do this little money thing. So that was kind of fun. But Dave Wydell was our snapper, and he's on the right now, and he actually had lost part of his leg recently as well from complications from not diabetes, I don't think. It was something else. But on to the next photo. We'll see Pro Bowl. Yes, I did make the Pro Bowl, and that's me in one of the kicks I had. I think that's an extra point. I had a bunch, probably 4 extra points and one 48-yard field goal, which I think we had the video of that on here as well. But I had the luxury in the Pro Bowl of having my holder, because Brian Barker was our punter of my 7 years in Jacksonville. Brian was here 6 of those 7. So he was my holder for 6 of those 7 years I was playing for the Jaguars. And we had both made it to the Pro Bowl that year. In 1998 was the Pro Bowl, but it was for the 97 season. At the time, that was only the 4th time in the NFL history that had happened, where the kicker and both the kicker and the punter from an NFL team and made the Pro Bowl. And so it was very awesome to have Brian there, because I mean, he's an awesome holder to begin with, best holder I've had. Brian Moorman, another Brian Moorman from the Bills, was a very good holder too. But I'm going to give the edge to Brian Barker. Plus, I was with Brian for six years. I was only in Buffalo for one, but Brian was a great guy. He kind of took me under his wing, kind of showed me the ropes, mentored me a little bit, gave me some of the information I'm giving you guys now. The one of the biggest ones was, I've always talked about how, even with my kickers I coach, I say, listen, don't treat game day any differently than what you do in practice. The field is the same length. This is from Brian. This is what Brian had told me. So I'm passing it on to the youth that I'm coaching now too, is that, don't try any harder on game day. The field is the same length. The goalposts are the same width. There's nothing different than what we've been practicing. So why would you change what you're doing on game day just because it matters more? And I was like, wow, that's great advice. And so I use that to this day, and especially with the form that I teach, because the form that I teach, I want you as a kicker to become mechanical. And if you become mechanical, you rely on those mechanics to kick the football instead of trying to steer the football and just hope and pray it goes through. You just do good mechanics. If the fundamentals of the mechanics are good, you have nothing to worry about. And so when people ask me, like, how did you deal with the pressure on a game-winning kick? And I say, well, this is going to sound a little odd, but I really didn't care where the ball went. And they're, oh, wait, what do you mean you don't care where the ball? Well, you got to make the kick to win the game. I say, I know that. But in my mind, I want to trick myself into thinking that it's the form and the technique is more important, which it is, in my opinion, because that's what kicks the ball for me. I don't have to rely on any more extra run or extra speed or extra swing or anything like that. I just do my form like I've always done. And that's the key. And I think that's what happens when you understand leverage and how to use your body and the forward momentum, and knowing that leverage has worked for you a million times. Why would you want to do anything different? Why would you want to get away from that? And so Brian was one of those guys that kind of taught me that as well. So again, it was a luxury having Brian there in Hawaii back in the day when it was actually a football game. Now they do flag football basically. So, and this was the Bills. This is Brian Moorman, the other guy I was telling you about. He actually lives here in Jacksonville. He's down in Ponte Vedra, not too far from me, less than, maybe, cut 3-4 miles, something like that. Not too far, really. And it's weird that he's now here. He has some family that lived here before, and he loved Jacksonville when he came here a couple times, and he decided to live here. But yeah, again, that was my 8th season in the NFL right there. And that kick right there happens to be one we're going to show you. It was a 54-yard field goal, and I'll show you. Actually, I'm going to talk about it afterwards. I'll tell you a little story about that. It's really super cool. It's something that I'll never forget. I think God was blessing me that day because I had other intentions, because I was trying to be selfish. I'll explain it when we get to that video. But that's me kicking in Minnesota against the Vikings in a Bills uniform in 2002. That's when that picture was. So on the next, I think I'm playing with the Giants at that point. Yep, I had to wear number 2 because apparently they had retired the jersey number 1 because of some coach back in the day years ago. However, I have seen somebody on the Giants, I don't remember who it was or when it was, but somebody was wearing number 1. I'm like, wait, how come I didn't get number 1? That's not fair. But in all reality, I was just there for preseason because I got hurt in preseason. Then I had my 3rd and eventually 4th back surgery right after the season started. So I was on injured reserve. I didn't even really play an official down for the Giants, even though I signed a 5-year deal with the New York Giants. After the whole year I spent on injured reserve, rehabbing my back and getting back into kicking, and I was doing pretty well. I was kicking pretty good. And Tom Coughlin was hired by the Giants, and he was my coach here in Jacksonville. And he was the reason I had to leave because he didn't want me on the team anymore. My contract expired, and they were big in a huge salary cap issue. So they had to really consolidate and they could have paid me some money, but they didn't want to, and didn't, I wasn't kicking off really that much at the time. And so I think that they felt, well, we have to sometimes have, 2 kickers on the roster because Mike can't kick off very far, which I wasn't the strongest kickoff guy in the world, but I did my job. I did okay with it. But they wanted more. So I understand that. So as soon as Coughlin was hired, I knew that he probably didn't want me there because he didn't want me in Jacksonville. And so in another true story, I actually put a deposit on a house in Ponte Vedra here in Jacksonville area before I even got cut, because I knew I was going to get cut. And my wife at the time and I were looking to move back to Jacksonville at one point, and we thought, well, I guess this is the time to move back to Jacksonville because I'm not going to be around here in New York anymore. So let's go to another photo. If we got one. Okay, so this is fast forward. Now this was about almost 4 years ago. This was at that game for the indoor team, the Jacksonville Sharks, that I played back when I was 50, and that was, again, I'm 50. I'll be 54 in May, so I'm almost 54. But I just turned 50 around that time, and May 22nd, my birthday, May 22nd, and then June 3rd, I think, was this game. And so this is me at the age of 50 kicking indoors, and I kicked the ball 22 times in that one game. Okay, now, that to most people would say, man, that's so many kicks. You must have been exhausted. I was exhausted because my body was old and I wasn't used to, playing those long games, kicking that much. I've probably kicked way more than that in the NFL because I had the net in the Arena League. You don't have room to kick into a net. And so I didn't really kick on the sidelines. I just kind of warm my leg up a little bit or whatever, and then go out and, kick the kicks when the time came. But they don't have really any room for you to warm up. And so I didn't kick as much, but I did. I was incredibly sore after that game. I could only handle one game. And I told the coach about 3 days after that game, I said, Coach, I got to bow out. I don't think I could play another game. It was just incredibly difficult on my back. Remember, I had 4 back surgeries, and so here I am. Last surgery I had was like in 2004. So fast forward now, it's been a while since I had those surgeries, but so that was a very cool experience. And so I don't know if we have any more photos. If there's any. Okay, yeah, let's go into the videos now, and just kind of sporadic videos. I'm going to let them play, and then I'm going to talk about them afterwards, one at a time.
Mike Hollis for the extra point. Barker holds. And he bangs it through. It's an 11-play drive.
Yeah, that was that kick I was telling you about, where I got the really good the height on it as far as the kick itself. And you notice the snap wasn't great either. So Dave Weidel was our starting center. He wasn't a long snapper. These days, these guys are pretty fortunate because they have a specialized long snapper that's all he does. So they work on long snapping and holding and kicking and punting and all that stuff all day long together as a team of 3 guys on the specialist operation. So I wasn't fortunate enough to have that ability to have a great snapper. But Dave did a good job. He did all right. But Brian was the one that kind of saved a lot of Dave's snaps. You notice that snap was pretty high. So that one there, I show some of my kickers to show them how much height I got, off the ground. That's an NFL ball in an NFL stadium, Houston Oilers again. So I was back in 95. That was that game. So that I show my guys how much height you can get doing it the way I'm referring to. So onto the next video.
Pro Bowl at the most difficult position to play in the National Football League, quarterback.
He had a big year at Seattle. 25 touchdowns, over 3,600 yards. He still got it. 48-yard field goal for Mike Hollis, and that kick is good. He had the benefit of his regular holder, Brian Barker, who's the AFC punter, and his normal holder putting it down, and the 48-yarder pulls the AFC back within 7. NFC 24, AFC 17, 8:51 left in regulation.
I love that music. Reminds you of Hawaii, right? Because that's where it was at when you're actually playing a game. And I don't know if you noticed, Tony Baselli, he's in the Hall of Fame. He was there as well. We had 5 guys go that year from the Jaguars: Tony, Mark Brunell, myself, Jimmy Smith, Brian Barker. Did I miss anybody? And Tony Baselli, I think I named 5. So that kick there, that was the only kick of the game, only field goal I had. But that was, you notice nobody really rushed. It's kind of like, okay, we're just going to snap the ball and kick it. And I was just kind of like, all right, you have to understand how important it is for a kicker to have your own holder there. It's not terrible, but you have a little bit of insecurity when there's a holder that you don't really know or you're not familiar with how he holds and what, because again, you got 1.3 seconds, we'll say, to kick up a ball from the moment it snapped to the moment you kick that ball, 1.3 seconds. So there's a lot of things that can go wrong. And as soon as that ball snapped, I'm moving. I'm on my way to kick it. And that was what made Brian so special, was even with the bad snaps, he told me, so listen, I will get the ball down for you. It doesn't matter, within reason, of course. If you can't catch the snap, then obviously he's not going to get the ball down for me. But there's way worse snaps than the one you saw in Houston there. But I can promise you, I trusted Brian. He told me he can get it down, so I'm going to kick it regardless. And I don't know if you remember, we talked about Koo a while, but Young Ho Koo, that the kicker for Atlanta at one point, that kind of muffed the kick. He kind of kicked the ground. He saw the ball move a little bit, and he freaked out, and he didn't want to miss the kick because I think he was kind of in hot water anyways at that point. I think he'd already got released by I think that was when he was with the Giants or another team or whatever, and he got cut again from that. But yeah, I would have kicked it. And again, we go back to that. I would say, man, every day I would have kicked that ball. He laid off that, but yeah, the Pro Bowl was awesome. One of the best experiences I've ever had in my life. It was so cool. We had the Pittsburgh Steelers coaching staff there. So, the head coach of the Steelers back then, can't remember his name now. I'm drawing a blank. Anyways, so yeah, the whole Steelers staff there, we were practicing with the NFC team, kind of, back-to-back practices. So I ran into a lot of guys, and I mean, I'm just in awe of all these Pro Bowl players, and it was just such an awesome experience. So let's go into the next video real quick.
Comes Mike Hollis from 54 yards. They get it down cleanly. Hollis! Whoa! Got it! Holy mackerel! It hit the crossbar and bounced in. Hollis is living right, and we are tied at 39. Holy mackerel! A career-long 54 yards. Because they actually moved it back to 8 yards. Usually it's 7 yards deep. Gave him an extra run at it, and that little extra run probably provided that opportunity, those 2 inches, to hit the top and kick over the crossbar. So for the second week in a row, the Buffalo Bills are headed for overtime. And what a shot. Wow. Greg Williams. He'll take it. And we're ready for overtime, and this time Buffalo will get it.
Oh, yeah, that was a little longer than I thought it was, but yeah, super cool. That was the one I was referring to, that I believe that I had a little angel on my shoulder that time, because what happened was, if you know anything about where, with field goal kicking, where they spot the ball, and the announcer, the guy that was talking about me, usually 7 yards, you must have had an 8 yard extra run up or something. And that was not true whatsoever. Okay. So some of these announcers don't know what they're talking about, in all honesty. But what happened was, so if wherever the ball is spot, I'm always about 8 yards back from the spot. Okay. So 8 yards is really where, from the snap of the ball, where the line of scrimmage is, to where I want the ball placed. Right. Well, 8.5 yards, we'll say, was the 45-yard line. Okay. So, but if I kick a ball anywhere in front of a line, they don't give me credit for the yard, that extra yard. So if I'm kicking right at the 45-yard line, that's a 55-yard field goal. But if I move up a half a yard, maybe like a 12 inches, which is what I did, it only counts as 54 yards. So if you saw that kick, you understand exactly where I'm going right now. So as I'm lining up, selfishly putting my foot on the 45-yard line, before I took my steps back, I believe, something told me, I think it was God, said, hey, you better not do that. And I'm thinking, actually, I thought, well, if I'm back too far, they have a rush. They can rush from the edges and get to me better if I'm further back. If I'm closer, they have to, round their rush a little bit more aggressively to get to me. So it's an advantage for me to be up a little closer. But again, I was trying to be selfish and want 55, but you saw where that ball hit. It hit the crossbar. Again, I wasn't the strongest guy, but that was my 8th year in the league, and my back, after, 2 back surgeries at that point, wasn't the strongest I'd ever been, but you saw it hit the crossbar. Had I been selfish and got the kickoff from 55 yards, we would have lost that game. We eventually won the game. We had a touchdown scored. I did miss a field goal in that game, though. A game winner in the overtime. It was 44 yards. I have never experienced a stadium as loud as that. It was so loud, it was quiet. I don't know if you've ever experienced anything like that, but it was unbelievable. It was so loud that it was quiet. And so what happened was, of course, I kick it and make it. But I'm telling you, had I been selfish, we would have lost that game. So super cool thing. And I'll never do that again. Obviously, I'm not playing anymore, but I'll tell people don't do that just because of that reason. But I don't know how many more videos we have, but we'll go into maybe one more. Do we have any? 2 more? Okay.
45-yard field goal attempt by Mike Hollis.
And the wind is coming from his left, Mike, so if he tries to hook it in, he could stay out to the right.
To give Jacksonville the lead. It hits the post and goes through. What a shot by Jacksonville. Hollis from 45 off the right upright, and it's good. The Jaguars lead in the playoff game at Buffalo.
It's funny, when I went to the Bills to play for the Bills in 2002, a lot of the fans remember that kick. And I'm like, well, I'm on your side now. I'm trying to kind of justify everything. I'm sorry for that kick, but I'm on your side now. But that kick put us over to beat the Bills in the first round of the playoffs, our very first playoff game as a Jacksonville Jaguar franchise. And that kick was like a little bit over a minute, I think, left. I don't remember if there's time on the clock there. I can't remember, 1.5 minutes, 1:20-something. But that was the deciding factor. It was 27-all at that point, and I kicked that one that made it 30-27. But I don't know if you noticed, the ball took a sharp right. Brian told me afterwards that he leaned the ball a little bit to the right, and because the wind had changed a little bit at halftime. So it was kind of going the opposite direction at halftime, or after halftime. And so he forgot, and he kind of put a little bit of lean. He thought it was maybe his responsibility that it actually took that sharp right. But if you notice, the ball was up in the middle, and this part of another story too. I kicked a ball. I hit it. If you've played golf, you hit a ball. The second you actually make contact with that, it's gone. You're like, oh my gosh, that's a good hit. And then you look up and it's gone, right? It's the same thing with kicking, right? That was one of those kicks for me. I had a really good contact. I hit it really well. I look up, I kicked the ball. I'm looking up. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're right down the middle. And all of a sudden the guy, if you saw the guy come from the edge there, he dove really late and took me out, right? He flew right through me, and I don't know why they didn't call a penalty. We probably would have declined it anyways, but took me out. So I'm looking at the sky now because I'm on my back, and Brian Barker, reaches his hand down to help me up. He said, bro, it went through, like with a surprised look on his face. I'm like, what do you mean? It was going right down the middle. He goes, watch the Jumbotron. And I watched the replay. I'm like, oh my gosh. I didn't notice how much it had taken a sharp right. And so again, a little lucky there. That we, got that kick in and we won. But that was from 45 yards. Remember, I said I didn't have an incredible leg, but remember I told you I hit that one pretty good? That's in Buffalo in January. Cold, windy, right? I hit that one from 45 yards. I hit the very top of the uprights. Okay, those, guys are doing it now these days, but not back then. That wasn't really a thing. Like, man, that was from 45 yards out, you hit the top of the uprights. That's a monster kick. Again, not trying to pat myself on the back, but I was just, saying I hit it pretty solid. So, and then of course we won that game, and then we went on to play the Denver Broncos the week after that, and we won by the same score, 30-27. I had 3 field goals, just like I did in Buffalo the week prior to that. And then the story I always talk about is flying over the stadium on the way back from Denver after knocking off the Broncos, and the stadium was full, like. Not full, but this was like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, something like that. It was really late, right? And there's tons of people. There's probably 20,000 people in the stadium, and the plane took a left turn around the stadium, and we're looking out our windows, looking at all these people going, like this, like yeah, from up in the air. So it was super cool. I get goosebumps every time I share that story. Really cool, awesome. That was a 96. That was our 96 playoff run. And then the week after the Denver Broncos, we lost to the New England Patriots in New England. And so that was the end of that year. But one more video, and then we'll wrap it up.
Of course, being inside, there is no wind and no elements to contend with. And the see how close Hollis gets. He's got the distance. Hollis from 59 yards. He got it! A 59-yard field goal by Mike Hollis.
So I told you, yeah, 54 was kind of cool, but that was only my second year in the league. So I was like 24 or 5 years old at that time. So I was pretty fresh, and pretty energetic and had lots of power and stuff. But another story about that kick there, and then we'll end it on that. That was a make or break kick for me because my first year with the Jaguars, I was like 20 of 27 on field goals, not very good. That's okay. They invited me back. I was on a 1-year contract my first 3 years. When you come in the NFL as if you're not drafted, you are immediately a restricted free agent. And so what happens is the team kind of got you a little bit. They can sign you a 1-year deal. You play that 1 year. They have until like July of your contract. And if they offer you another 1-year deal and you don't sign it and you wait till July, most of the other teams around the league have their kickers, have their full roster ready to go in July. So you're kind of risking it. I'm like, this is Florida. I love this team. I love the area. Of course, I'm going to sign another 1-year deal. So I signed, 3 years in a row. My first 3 years in the NFL were on 1-year league minimum deals. And then on my 4th year after I went to the Pro Bowl, which was great timing for me, going back to that word leverage, it's a different form of leverage, but I had it. I had a lot of leverage because I had gone to the Pro Bowl. I led the NFL in scoring that year in 97. 98 was my big 4-year contract deal. And that for like 2 weeks, I was the highest paid kicker in the NFL. And then Olindo Mare from the Miami Dolphins just destroyed that contract as far as what I was getting paid. He dwarfed it. Like he got $1 million signing bonus and mine was like 600 or something like that. Anyway, so it was a very, very cool experience, but that was kind of a make or break kick. So going into preseason in 96, that was a preseason game actually. And so I had missed like 3 kicks in a row. And I think they had released the guy that they had in camp prior to that game. And I'm like, okay, well now I'm the guy, now I got to be the guy. And, even though I missed 3 kicks, I'm still kind of treading water here. I gotta, make or break this kick here. And it was, it would have been a 54-yard field goal, but we had a delay of game for some reason. I don't know what happened. And I'm thinking, oh crap, now it's 59 yards. So I start kind of walking back and I'm looking over at Tom Coughlin and he's like, kick it. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, this is now it's for real, like real. Okay. I'm thinking, well, maybe Brian was going to punt or something, but it was the end of the half. So we had nothing really to lose. So again, had I missed that kick, I don't know if I would have been on the team the next day. Honestly, I think that I would have been cut. But because I made that, I know that they obviously, got some more confidence in me. So did I. I got a lot of confidence in myself too, because that was kind of a learning experience for me on that one. So very cool experience. The reason I wanted to share a little bit about kicking, about kind of the process of kicking and what kind of went into it. And then I wanted to also share my NFL experience and how much how fun it was and how many cool kicks and cool situations I was in, the things you would never really think about, stories like the 54-yarder in Minnesota. Had I tried a 55-yarder, we would have lost the game probably because I would have missed that kick, honestly, because it hit the crossbar at the right spot for it to bounce through. It probably would have been short from 55. So count my blessings for that. Thank God that he stepped in and said, you better not do that, And so with that said, I hope you guys have an amazing Monday night. Continue with the March Madness. We're down to the Final Four now. And again, I keep talking about March Madness like it's a big deal. I'm not a real big basketball fan, but this year's been kind of cool to watch. And so hope you guys continue to watch that. And look forward to seeing everybody next Monday night at 5:30 on Zealous Wellness with Mike Hollis. Have a good night.
Thank you for watching Zealous Wellness with Mike Hollis. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. See you next time.